could run away. Let's lose our minds. We could go crazy and leave it all behind.
Hello zebras, how's it going? I'm really sorry that I didn't upload last week. There was a few reasons why. Firstly, my phone died, and if you guys don't know, I actually record my audio using my phone with this microphone because the audio on my camera it isn't great. And secondly, I was sick, and that sounds like such a cop-out, but you guys know by now that unfortunately my health just fluctuates. That was one of those weeks. But I have something really exciting to talk to you about this week. So at the weekend, I went to the EDS conference called Management and Wellbeing for EDS and Hypermobility, and it was a joint thing done between the two main charities for EDS. So that was EDS UK and HMSA, Hypermobility. So the conference was in Warwick, which is kind of Midlands, the UK, and was hosted at a hotel for 2 days. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of footage to show you, just because I always feel a bit funny filming in public, and I don't want to film people that don't want to be on camera and don't want to have their face on the internet, which, you know, I think is a fair enough. So I'll talk to you about the talks that I went to, what I found really interesting, and we'll get on with it. So, funnily enough, the person that opened the conference was actually a doctor that I got to see, and her name is Dr. Kaz, and she is a rheumatologist, and I went to see her in London. I found out from the conference actually was part of a group of doctors that put together the new specification for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. But if you don't know, the 1997 criteria used for diagnosing EDS was very, very recently replaced with the 2017 criteria. And in my opinion, I think the 2017 criteria is very, very strict. I was very lucky in the fact that I was diagnosed with the 1997 criteria. I think if it came to now being diagnosed, I don't think I would have been diagnosed with EDS as such, but more hypermobility syndrome. And I think a lot of people are upset about that because they're having kind of the diagnosis revoked and changed to hypermobility syndrome. And I think a lot of doctors look at hypermobility syndrome and think, well, it's not as serious as Ehlers-Danlos, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. There's this spectrum now where the one end is Ehlers-Danlos and the other end is, you know, very, very mild, just joint hypermobility. And somewhere along there is where you fall on the spectrum. So Dr. Kaz, who was part of putting this criteria together, someone I'd seen, she explained that no, this is serious. You know, the treatment plan is exactly the same whether it's classed as EDS or whether it's classed as hypermobility syndrome. It's the same outcome either way. I think it's making patients feel dejected, and I think it's making patients be taken less seriously by GPs who don't know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, on my actual medical records, they have listed it as hypermobility syndrome, even though I was actually diagnosed as EDS. It's complicated and it's annoying. Anyway, so I thought that she did a really great job of introducing the criteria. I didn't realise how many people went into having to have the criteria changed, and I don't think it was a unanimous thing because she said that they went on for hours and hours, and they got to a point where they said basically we need to decide what is going on this criteria because they couldn't come to some kind of unanimous choice about what it should be.
But one of the things that commented about it at that time, that it was psychologically helpful to the patient and the doctor. It was very interesting. Patient and the doctor to know and to call it a name. So I agree, it's finally you've got a name. It was very clear from the International Consortium that we're not going to undo diagnosis. That's not the purpose of this diagnostic criteria is for the future, to find out about genes in the future, to be more specific about this condition, because so far we don't, as you've seen from the slide, if you look at the hypermobile EDS, it's unknown. It's very difficult to do any type of research or epidemiological studies when you don't know actually what's going on. So I do appreciate that it is quite confusing, but the future is brighter, and exactly the same.
So I went to the 11:15 Managing POTS talk by Dr. Leslie Cabby, and I thought that was really interesting because I haven't actually been diagnosed with POTS yet. I was told by a gastric specialist that he is pretty sure I have POTS. I use a Fitbit to monitor my heart rate because whenever I stand up it goes crazy. It raises more than 30 beats per minute. And also I get very, very dizzy all the time. So we're pretty sure I have got POTS. And I thought the POTS talk was really, really informative. It definitely sort of solidifies in my mind that I want to go and have a tilt table test done, which is kind of what they use to diagnose POTS. And I feel prepared for it because, you know, they they told you it's not particularly very nice for the patients. It can make you feel very unwell. So I feel like in my mind I'm far more prepared for it, because I feel like a lot of doctors, they won't be honest with you if a test isn't going to be pleasant, or they'll be like, oh, it's fine, you'll be okay, and it's not. So I appreciated the honesty of it. Interestingly as well, it was highlighted that a lot of EDS patients are deficient in a lot of minerals and vitamins, B12, magnesium, iron. And a lot of EDS patients, because they have issues with stomach problems and digestion problems, will be put on proton pump inhibitors. These are medications like lansoprazole or omeprazole, and they help with reflux. But I've been put on lansoprazole myself and omeprazole. Now, I didn't know this. These medications actually stop your body from absorbing things like iron and magnesium and B12. And someone said, well, if I'm taking these iron supplements and stuff alongside my proton pump inhibitors, will I be okay? And she said, well, no, because you're not, it's drawing it out. You're not going to absorb it because of the proton pump inhibitors. So if you are on lansoprazole or omeprazole and you have issues with your iron or magnesium or B12, I would definitely look into that. At 11:40, there was living with mast cell activation disorder. Now, mast cell is an interesting one. It's very hard to get diagnosed with mast cell. I haven't really had many discussions about mast cell, but a lot of EDS patients do suffer with it. From my understanding, mast cell is kind of like an allergic reaction in the body where your body will produce too many histamines to something that it shouldn't, and will cause a rash or fatigue or nausea. And it's really hard to distinguish what is what illness, because a lot of these illnesses have overlapping symptoms. I do get rashes now and again when I'm in the shower. It's very random how it happens. There was a case where I went into hospital one time and they said to me, oh my god, you're covered in a rash for no reason. Post-pic affects my life. I think with a lot of people it can make their throat swell, it can stop their breathing. For me, it's not really something that I'm interested in pursuing a diagnosis right now for, because it doesn't really interfere with my life. At 12:15 I saw why nutrition is important. I think this was my favourite talk of all the talks that I went to see, and the doctor that gave the presentation herself was an EDS sufferer and had changed her life completely with diet. Now, I've talked to you a few times about how I'm on restricted diet. I don't eat sugar very much. I also don't eat anything with gluten in. I try and eat proper food. And this is basically the sort of things that she was going through with this talk. And I thought she was making some really good points. She said, there was a quote that she said which was really interesting. And she said that genetics load the gun, but the environmental surroundings is what pulls the trigger. And that is so important, because you have to look after your body. Even though you've been given this illness, and even though it's a genetic thing and there is no cure, you can make positive changes to your life, whether it's like mental health, well-being, whether it's you want to go do some Pilates to keep your strength, physical therapy, eating a healthy, nutritious diet. You can help kind of reduce the symptoms that you live with. And she had gone from not being able to get out of bed, she was having hideous chronic migraines, to being able to live a completely normal life. And she said that she would eat something and feel sick immediately and bloated, and so she basically did the sort of diet that I do, where it's just only clean eating food, no pasta, no carbohydrates, nothing that's going to make you feel sluggish. And she looked really well, and I was really pleased for her, and I think it went down really well with the EDS community as well. Now, day 2, I think for me was my favourite of the 2 days, just because I really made an effort to go to as many talks as I could. Even though I was exhausted, I didn't want to have a repeat of the first day where I had skipped the afternoon just because I wasn't well enough. So in the morning, there was a talk about managing pain and fatigue. And this talked about pain management programs, which is something that I have been waiting for a really long time. I've talked about it a little bit, and I was told by a pain management program recently that I was actually too sick to go on the course because they didn't think I would make it through the day. Now, in terms of where I am with that, I actually got a phone call back the other day because I'd been filling out a diary for 2 weeks about what I'd been doing during the day, how it made me feel, days where I couldn't get out of bed, why I couldn't get out of bed, that sort of thing. And we were noticing a pattern where I was doing this massive build up, and then falling. I was doing too much all at once, and I was trying to get everything done, and then the next day that would reflect in how I would be able to get out of bed. And this is what this talk was about. It was about pacing yourself. It was about spreading the load. One of the people at the conference themselves put their hand up and said, yes, I've done a pain management program, and it really helped me. It's something that is definitely worth doing, and it focuses on the way that you think as well. And it's hard because a lot of doctors will tell you that the pain is in your head or whatever, and you can control it with your mind, and it's almost insulting. But then at the same time, they're saying that a good way of thinking and reprogramming your mind to distract you from pain and manage your days better really will help with the pain. So I haven't actually tried a pain management program yet, but I am definitely really willing to do it, and hopefully it's going to come up soon. I am on a waiting list. It's just a case of getting better and getting me prepared for a pain management course. So I'm excited about that. Now, I wasn't actually going to go to the next talk because it doesn't really apply to me, so I thought, but it was about managing bladder, and I didn't know this. They did a survey with people who were getting UTIs, and if you don't know what a UTI is, it's a urinary tract infection, and they can be hideous sometimes. I've had UTIs put me in the hospital before. It's not pleasant. EDS patients, and they did it with normal patients, people who didn't have EDS, and 11% of the normal control group had UTIs, only 11%, and then of the control group with EDS, 24% were having UTIs. So they basically said that they concluded from that study that EDS patients are more prone to getting UTIs and more prone to having recurrent UTIs and chronic cystitis, which is actually something that runs in my family, and I had no idea that there was a link between this. UTIs are terrible. I keep getting UTIs. I don't know why I keep getting UTIs, but it's probably to do with EDS. The last talk that I saw was about physiotherapy. Now, I have been asking for physiotherapy for so long, and nobody's believed me that I had my condition, and waiting lists are really long, and physiotherapy, you only get 5 sessions or 6 sessions or something, so it's been a real struggle. The last I heard, I was 4th. No, I got a call actually today about them trying to rearrange my physio. They tried to get me to come in next week, but I'm not here. I'm going to London again for hospital appointments. But I'm really looking forward to having physio because, like I said, I think it's really important that you keep your muscles going. They talked about this in the talk. So that was kind of all of the talks that I went to. Now, on the first night, I actually met a lady and her daughter at the train station when I was waiting to get from the train station to the hotel. And I could tell immediately that this girl had EDS, because not only did she have like her crutches and stuff, but she had like zebra stripes all over her. And so automatically I found it was really easy to like approach her and start a conversation. And we talked a little bit about going to the EDS conference, and then we shared a taxi to the place, and then I thought, oh right, well that was nice, I'm not going to be able to see her again. And then she ended up in my Pilates class thing, and we got on really, really well, and that was really, really nice. And after the last talk, everyone was milling around in the hallway, and I went out and she was there again, and we like chatted and exchanged information. And there was 2 other girls as well, one who was a few years younger than me and was in a wheelchair, and another girl who I'd actually seen around as well. And we just kind of really clicked and shared information, and now we actually have a Facebook chat thing going on. So I thought it was really nice, because we've for the last few days been able to like share experiences, and I think that's really a good thing when you are struggling with a chronic illness. I think being able to talk to someone else who's going through the same thing as you is really helpful and supportive. It's really nice, and I feel like I've made some really good friends already from that, and I hope that we will stay friends and end up being stronger friends out of this. So if you guys ever see this, Olivia, Sasha and Hannah, hi, it was so nice to meet you. I feel like we've already got this sort of a weird bendy bond. that's what it is, it's a bendy bond. All in all, I thought the EDS conference was so worth going to. It was just so nice to be able to see other people going through this. I mean, not nice, but it was nice to be able to relate to lots of people and not get stares for using my stick, and people using their wheelchairs and not being judged on it. I thought it was really nice to just get each other, and I felt like I was with my people. Anyway, I promise next week that I will be doing my update on my wheelchair. It lives in my dad's car. I've just not had the chance to get it out, but I promise I will. I will get it out next week. I will talk about it. You have my word. You have my word. If you went to the EDS conference, then drop me a little comment down below about if you enjoyed it. I had the best time, like I said. I would definitely do it again next year. So I guess until next week, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Stress-free, pain-free. And I will see you guys on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Bye! By the way, if my skin looks really ratchet this week, just having a breakout, like, let's not talk about it. Okay, see you next week.